It's time to get your tickets for the 2022 BC Children's Hospital Dream Lottery.
8 grand prize options, including this beauty in Ocean Park, South Surrey, worth over $2.8 million.
Get your tickets at bcchildren.com.
We have to ask you about last Monday. You told us Kadri was going to the island later in the week. What happened as Calgary swooped in with Brad Treliving?
Well, as we talked about on Monday, was that Lou had to clear some money, had to move some money out, as Brad Treliving did. And it's quite obviously Brad was able to move the Sean Monahan contract out at a king's ransom, if you ask me, from Montreal. And sounds like Lou wasn't prepared to do that specifically. So from that perspective, as has been a story this summer, it's all a case of how you can manage against the cap. And Brad Treliving has done it very well. And Lou, quite frankly, has had a problem with it all summer long.
Was this 11th hour stuff from Calgary? Like, were they in on Kadri from the jump and just got about their business more quickly when it got down to brass tacks? Or were they late arrivals to all of this? Did the Islanders think they had Kadri as soon as they cleared out some money?
I mean, obviously, there had been an initial offer after July 13th from the Flames, and it probably was comparable to what went down the pike at 7 times 7. But as I understand it, Kadri's price dropped. He finally realized at some point after a month that that having and wanting $9 million is one thing, and getting it is another. And so in the end, got the maximum term and got a solid number when you consider that he will be 38 years old when this contract expires. So I think that from that perspective, Calgary was always in the picture, but I truly believe Lou thought he could move some money before any deal got done with someone else, and that became an issue.
What's the consensus on the job Treliving has done? I think university people applaud him for staying competitive. Everybody sees where these contracts are going, though, as well. Is there anybody that wouldn't have done what he did? I mean, the most staunch salary cap hawk might say, "Oh, it's reckless because the last 3-4 years of each of these contracts is going to be perilous." But in the end, does anybody begrudge trying to win a cup in the now?
No, I don't think so at all, Blake. I mean, I think when you look at what Brad did, knowing he, quite frankly, was able to manufacture the cap space, and under pressure not just from the fans, but I can guarantee you there was pressure from ownership to try to keep at least one or two of Gaudreau or Tkachuk. And when that couldn't happen, he had to go to Plan B. And in my mind, Plan B looks pretty good. We talked about it on our show earlier today. Would you trade Johnny Gaudreau and Matthew Tkachuk for Jonathan Huberdeau, Nazem Kadri, and Mackenzie Weegar? Would you make that trade? And the answer is, I think a lot of people would. When you look at the totality of what went out and what's come back, I think the more interesting one in all of this is the return he was able to get for Tkachuk, because he agreed to do the sign and trade, and to be able to get both Huberdeau and Weegar in that deal really put Brad in very good stead. And then on top of that, to do the Kadri deal in the middle of August was pretty darn good.
For that exercise, we should include the first-round pick. It should be a first-round pick, Gaudreau and Tkachuk, right? Because ultimately you needed to spend that to make it all happen.
Well, but he got one back from Florida,
in fairness.
In
fairness, you're right. You're right. And the other side of that now is we had always believed that the price the Maple Leafs had paid to get Patrick Marleau off the books was $6 million at a first round pick. So now it's a little more than $6 million. And Brad was able to do a lot when it looked like he was in a weak position. And I think that's very impressive at this point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep, and of course you're evaluating that trade as good as Tkachuk and Gaudreau are. They're wingers, so you got a centerman and a guy who can play the right side on defense back in the totality of the package.
Let's go to the island, though. What's the consolation prize now for Lou Lamoriello here? Is there a possibility? And, of course, Canuck fans are rubbing their hands together. Now you want JT Miller, right? But there has really been no smoke that suggests that.
No, and I don't. Quite frankly, between Lou and Jim, I'm not sure we would ever see the smoke.
Yeah.
Both of them have worked with the same principle for many, many years. That if I hear this leaked out, the deal's off. And so from that perspective, would I be surprised that JT Miller's on Lou's list? No, I wouldn't be surprised if they are trying to improve their hockey club at this point. But, again, I'm a broken record about this. The last time he traded for cap space and traded in this situation, it cost him 2 younger defensemen, and they got older and slower. I don't think he wants to do that again. And I think that's the real challenge right now for Lamoriello and the Islanders.
Is there a useful piece on that Islander team that's making some freight that Lou would see that as a plus to? Like, I'm thinking of a JG Pajot. Like, is he so committed to Pajot that he wouldn't mind that off the books? Like, you have to scratch an itch for Lou Lamoriello as well, right? You can't just say, give me a bunch of assets for JT Miller. There has to be something in it for Lou Lamoriello, because you only get 1 year JT Miller. Is there something reasonable that if you are an acquiring team, maybe Jim Rutherford, that you'd be okay, taking that back? Like, anybody, their old guys are really old and really well paid and still have term on them. So there's not a lot of palatable contracts there.
No, but if you're looking to, listen, Calgary was looking for initially short-term success. But so if you're looking for short-term success, if you were asking me, if I was a manager in the National Hockey League, I'd be all in on Brock Nelson. I really would. I think that Brock Nelson is one of those players that with his size, with his speed, with his skill, Brock Nelson can help any team. Now, I don't think Jim's in any hurry, though. Mm-hmm. Jim is not in any hurry. Jim doesn't need to be in any hurry. JT can help the Canucks between now and the deadline if they can't get a deal done. And this is a team where where do you think that their playoff possibilities are? I think Calgary's better. I think Edmonton's better. The question is where does Vancouver fit in with that Los Angeles Vegas scenario? Mm-hmm. Are they the number 3, 4, or 5 team in the Pacific Division? If you think they're the number 3 team right now, then you're keeping Miller for the short term at least to see what you can do.
Yeah, and Rutherford's quote to the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette today, "We have a challenge here. It's been a long, frustrating time for people here. We have to build the team as quickly as we can in a manner that it can sustain being a contender." And you juxtapose that with his comments earlier in the summer that defense is going to take a while to fix. Well, there's a lot of work to be done here. Do you think they take one last crack at signing Miller before training camp? His agent has made some rumblings about maybe cutting off any kind of contract extension talks once the season gets going. And, of course, Nazem Kadri's camp did JT Miller a pretty good favor at his age getting a 7-year deal.
Sure they did. I think they did him a favor by getting it done at least this early in the summertime. When's camp start? So what's that? The 12th, the 13th, or 14th of September. Yeah, there's still 3.5 weeks to go. I really think what's happening. World Juniors are now over. Managers are starting to come back from their holidays or from their break, whether that's being golf in Europe or just at the beach. I can still see teams, some of them still over that 10% cap situation. I can see teams trying to make some moves between now and camp starting still. That wouldn't surprise me that there'll be a lot of phone calls made to Jim Rutherford and Patrick Alvin.
training camp September 23rd, 24th in Whistler this year. After we're in John's
go.
old.
Oh, that's just after the rookie camp. That's just after the. That's after the rookie camp. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're referring to the Young Stars tournament, your old stomp there, South Okanagan Event Center in Penticton, where we'll be going and enjoying.
Yes, sir.
That little.
Are you going?
Oh yeah,
yeah. We'll be there.
Yeah, we help.
Wow.
Happy to take
That
care
might
of you if you
convince
want
me
to
to-
come out. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you come on?
That might convince me to go too.
There you go.
Go. I mean, you have some business to attend to in Oliver. Your name still isn't on the Welcome to Oliver sign. We got to get that fixed eventually.
Well, anything can happen with a Sharpie. You know that.
Yeah, exactly. A can of spray paint, home of John Shannon. Lastly, John, you're a television guy at heart. Needless to say, Hockey in August isn't the best sell, but they did what they could for Hockey Canada. Now they have to get back at her and put on another tournament in Halifax and Moncton in December at a time when, let's face it, Hockey Canada's name is being dragged through the mud, and rightfully so with some of the decisions that were made. What's the future of this World Junior event? Do you see some slippage here as a television property?
I see minimal slippage. I think that when you consider that it's Halifax coming up, then it's off to Sweden, and then it's to the United States after that. Time heals. I think it'll be interesting to measure the enthusiasm of the people of Halifax and Moncton, I think it is, in order to do some games. It will be interesting, just as interesting for me to see where the corporate partners are come Christmas time. Will we see their names back on the rink boards? And those are things that the corporations obviously have to measure of what their involvement wants to be. We watched a whole tournament that looked like it was in a bubble. And then all of a sudden, when Canada gets to the gold medal, there's almost 14,000 people in the building. Mm-hmm. Now, it was overpriced. We know it was overpriced from the beginning. That was one of the issues for what they were going through. But when push came to shove, a lot of people wanted to go watch winning hockey. And I think I wouldn't be surprised to see some level of normalcy by December. But I think it would be idiotic for any of us to consider that there wouldn't be some level of hangover.
We're saying, wouldn't it be a little bit better if this was a European turn in the rotation, right? Wouldn't it have been better just to have a little bit of a breather before it's right back in Canada? Maybe the following winter. This is a lot to ask here in one calendar year, given what's happened.
It is. There's no question about that. But one of the things that always happens is that when you involve different locales. And particularly Halifax, which has become such a great
for sure
rescue for many, many events. Let's face it. Listen, the women's championships are going to go on Denmark coming up later this month, and you're right. I think if it would have been probably more comfortable for a lot of people if they weren't in Canada, but they are in Canada. And darn well the volunteers and the organizing committee, the local organizing committee in Halifax will do their best to make it as palatable as possible.
John, marvelous stuff. Thank you for the time here today, my friend, and we will catch up next Monday.
Well, between wrestling, I can't believe I wasn't part of the wrestling thing. I can't believe I wasn't part of the wrestling thing.
Okay,
between the wrestling and the rookie tournament, my God, this could be something huge.
I could see you as like a Jimmy the Loudmouth, manager sort of thing for NEW. Oh,
so he texted me last week. He goes,
"Guys,
do you guys get in the ring at Rob Fay's wrestling promotion?
Come on, I want to see Maddie off the turnbuckle. This is what I want to see, Maddie off the turnbuckle."
Do you want to see Matt in wrestling attire? Because
no
one else does.
No
one else does.
Well, no, I do. I do want to see that. I was the guy that put John McKeechee in a luge suit, so
that's true. That's
true.
Yeah, that's
true. So hey, anything's possible. Thank God for spandex.
I saw McKeechee at the UBC game last week. He looks terrific. But yes, Shannon wanted us. He wants to live out his wrestling persona. He is Triple J, Blake.
Ah,
Just so you know,
wow.
my God, it's
Triple J,
Triple J,
Triple J.
and he's got a chair.
You know what? Hey, listen, the days of All-Star Wrestling and Dean Higuchi. Come on now. How could you not love it
on the music,
on
John?
the Lord?
What's your entrance music?
I think it has to be Sandman. I think it has to be Sandman. It really does. You know, it has to. Sure, come on,
Exit life.
come on. Because if I don't put him to sleep in the ring, I would have put them to sleep with another diatribe that I would have on the air. So
Triple J, he's on the apron. He's diatribing.
oh my God, it's Triple J.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
Oh boy, thank you, buddy. Have a good week.
Cheers.